Hi, friends. Welcome back. Thanks for being here, listening to episode 275, which is like a nice round number, so it feels like a bit of a milestone. We're closing in on 300 episodes of the Diet Diaries. I think you know what you're listening to. And I'm just going to get right to it today. So, Trigger Food Toolkit is out in the world, and I have been working on this course. It's almost like working on this course for like 5 years. But really kind of intensely, acutely working on it for the last several months. And some of you listening have been a part of it because I know that some of you listening had given your feedback on a survey I had done a couple of months ago, which means that you helped create this. And your input, for those of you who did that, and even just people who are here and listening to these episodes, and I can see what episodes kind of do well and what don't do well. And so I know how needed this is. And the reason that I said in some ways it's taken me 5 years, which I've been coaching for 5 years, is because I've been trying to figure out how to best take the work that I do with clients and one-on-one coaching and put it into a DIY format. What Trigger Food Toolkit is it is super focused and it is super specific. And it is step by step, because when you're doing something on your own, that's what it needs to be. This is not like a nutrition 101 course or behavior change 101 or everything you ever needed to know about like why you have so much food noise, right? It is not that. It is laser specific, and that's why it's so fucking good. Because you are going to walk out with a toolkit, hence the name of the course, of very specific skills and an actual kind of like workbook, so to speak, of templates and worksheets that you have filled out during the course that take what you learn and apply it to your real life. So you're not just listening, you're not even just learning, you are doing. Within the course itself, you are doing, so that when you walk out, you have practiced the skills in your real life. You have figured out what has worked and what hasn't worked. You know kind of what comes next, and you have a step-by-step, easily repeatable system to use to continue replicating the results that you got during the course, so that you continue to make progress and you no longer have trigger foods, right? Which is kind of like the end goal. Or that your trigger foods, the noise on them is super, super low. So yeah, they might still feel a little bit challenging, but you know exactly what to do and how to handle them, which really kind of means that they're not triggering you anymore. So if you're listening to this episode and you're wondering, okay, she's talking about this course, like, what does that mean? Is this for me? Okay, here's how you know if this is for you, right? You can think of even one food where whenever you think of that food, you say to yourself, yeah, once I start, I can't stop with that, right? It's like the floodgates open. Or you say to yourself, I can't have that in the house. And I think we've all done that at one point or another. Or you go out, you go to, it's the day, I'm recording this the day after Mother's Day, and I talked about this on Instagram this morning. Like, I went to my sister-in-law's for Mother's Day. We had a huge brunch, a huge spread of food, bagels and lox, little mini quiches, donuts, cinnamon rolls, coffee cake, bakery cookies, a Boston cream cake from Wegmans, bacon, fruit salad, farro salad. What else was there? More stuff that I'm forgetting. So much food. Kugel. My mother-in-law made kugel. And if you don't know what kugel is, I'm not going to get into it, but it's like one of my favorite foods. It's a Jewish dish that's served around Rosh Hashanah. And so the fact that like it was there was like such a huge surprise. It's one of my favorite things ever. We'll call it a very, very calorie dense food. It's basically like noodles and cream cheese and cream like baked into like a casserole. It's fucking awesome. Anyway, I brought home a big piece of that. I brought home a big piece of cake. I brought home a couple of cookies because I was super excited to be able to eat these things again. Right? So it's like the point in me kind of sharing that little story is, how often do you go out to eat or go to family's house for a holiday, or you host and you're like, get it out of here. I can't keep that. I can't have that in the house. I'm not bringing that home, right? So if you have ever said that about a food, keep listening because this is for you. Because I know all the things you've tried to do to deal with this, right? You tried just cutting it out, right? If I just don't eat this food, right? That's kind of the idea behind, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to keep it in the house. If it's not here, I won't eat it. Problem solved. The logic behind that makes total sense. Except inevitably, that food always shows up. It always appears at a Mother's Day brunch, at a holiday, in a moment of weakness at the grocery store, or you're having a really shitty day and you're like, I want a cookie, I want a piece of cake, I want ice cream, fuck it. And then you end up eating it in a way that feels like shit, right? These foods always show up in front of us. And so that avoidance that feels logically like a solution and kind of logically does make sense, doesn't actually work, because the experience of eating these foods goes far beyond logic, right? And it goes deep into like the inner wirings of our behavior and the beliefs and feelings we've had about food our entire lives, and the way that we have been taught in many cases to behave around these foods, right? So you've tried to cut it out. You've tried to swap them for healthier options. I mean, you guys, the number of times that I would bake like paleo brownies or paleo granola, or I did a whole reel last week talking about Whole30 ranch dressing, which I literally ate an entire jar of that in 2 days. Right? So I wasn't allowed to have sugar on a Whole30, but guess fucking what? I found a way around it because it wasn't about the food itself. It wasn't about not having sugar. It was about the way that I was using food and my behaviors around food that tasted a certain way or gave me a certain experience, right? That's really what trigger foods are. We keep trying to solve them and deal with them by fixing or changing the food itself, by getting rid of it, by swapping it, by buying like 100-calorie bags, right? Or miniature size versions, or setting rules in place like, okay, like the 3-bite rule. I can have 3 bites of this and then I'm done no matter what. But what we never do is we never look at our behaviors around these foods. And that's what Trigger Food Toolkit does. That I know for a fact you've never done that before. I know you haven't, because it doesn't exist. Because I know what's out there to deal with this stuff, right? There's tons of programs out there that will talk to you about like, oh, healthier swaps and cutting back on sugar and swap processed white sugar for like agave syrup or maple syrup and all these things. No, that doesn't work. Like, and I'm not saying that to be obnoxious. I'm not saying that to like make you feel defeated, but you know it doesn't work because you've tried it. You've done that. And if you are like me and you are like the women that I coach, those aren't for us. There might be some people out there for whom that works, but if you're here and you listen to this podcast either every week or maybe once a month, or maybe this is your first episode and you found it because you just found its way to you or someone sent it to you, that doesn't work for you because we're just built differently, for better or worse, you know. We don't have food issues, we have behavior issues. And that's what Trigger Food Toolkit addresses. That has never been addressed before. And that's why like I'm so fucking excited about this, to get this out into the world. Because that feeling of feeling out of control, it will show up. Like you can still feel out of control sometimes, even if that food isn't around, right? Where you'll think about it and like, you'll like, I've had situations where I've said to myself, well, here's a perfect one. This was, many, many, many years ago. I was in such a bad place with food and I had tried everything at this point. And I remember I wrote a letter to my mom and to my best friend at the time saying, I am addicted to sugar and I'm not going to eat sugar anymore. And if you are around me and you see me talking about sugar or trying to eat sugar, you need to stop me, right? I put it on them. I put it on them to control my behavior, right? Because I had tried everything else. I tried not buying. I tried cutting it out. I tried doing Whole30s. I tried working with nutritionists. I had tried what felt like everything. And I'm like, well, I haven't tried this. I'm going to hold myself accountable and I am just going to never eat sugar again. Well, guys, that lasted about 3 weeks until we were on vacation with my parents. I'll never forget it. It was my mom's birthday. We were in Turks and Caicos. So Ben would have been 4 years old. Okay, so this was like 12 years ago. No, 10 years ago. And it was my mom's birthday and there was an amazing dessert on the menu and I really wanted it. And I was like, it's okay. I'm going to order it. I'm going to allow myself. It's okay. I'm going to do it. And my mom's like, Jordana, you said you want, and I was like, Mom, just leave me alone. And I just like shut her down and I ordered it and that was the end of it. Right. So that lasted like 3 weeks, I think, that letter, because I kept trying to take the food away, but I never wanted to look at my behavior. So, and the reason, right. So the great irony of trigger foods is that because so often we use avoidance and restriction to try and deal with them, but then we never learn how to have them around. And like I said before, they always show up. Somehow they just do, right? We never, despite our best efforts to keep these things the fuck away from us, they always circle back around. But then because we've never practiced having them around, we only know basically one behavior when they're around, which is to go all in and go into fuck it mode. And then what happens is that just reinforces the story. It just perpetuates the narrative where then we say, see, this is why I can't have this around because this is what I do. But you do that because you never expose yourself to the food, because you never learn skills for how to behave around them. So of course that's what you do, right? It's all you know. I made the analogy recently, like you would never, and this might sound like a little crazy, but just for analogy's sake, just stay with me. You never throw a kid into a pool who didn't know how to swim and expect them to freestyle back and forth across the pool. No, you would never do that, right? And you wouldn't call them lazy because they didn't know how to do that. You would put them in the pool with support, with a floaty on their back, with a teacher, and you would teach them step by step how to breathe, how to kick their legs, how to move their arms, how to go from belly to stomach, and all the step-by-step process of learning how to swim. This is the same thing. We throw ourselves into these situations, we behave in a way that feels terrible, and then we rip ourselves apart for it like it's our own fault. Except it's not our fault. It's that we were taught to behave these ways around food and they don't work. They completely defy the way that humans exist and the way that our brains function and the way that we interact with food and people in our environment. And so what Trigger Food Toolkit does is it starts to teach you behaviors and strategies that you can use to be around these foods, right? This course is not going to tell you to figure out your favorite trigger foods and then figure out healthy swaps for them. No. If you love those healthy swaps, and it would be like in air quotes, if you love those healthy swaps as much as you love the original, cool. But still, that's not going to fix anything. I remember making paleo granola. It was delicious. So good. This was, again, like 10, 12 years ago, probably more. And I remember keeping it in the freezer for freshness, thinking in my head, oh, I'm going to like stretch this out. I'm going to have this for weeks, days. It was gone in days. And this is not a small amount of granola. So, healthier, cleaner version, my ass. Yeah, it was. Didn't mean anything because it wasn't about the food. It was about the behavior around the food. And so what I'm teaching you is that step-by-step process for how to be around these foods so that you can, I always go to Thin Mints. I don't know why, because I had them in the house for so long and I keep them in the freezer and they're so poppable, right? Those kinds of cookies, you just feel like, and they're in a sleeve and that sleeve thing is like that experience of eating cookies in that format is like a thing for a lot of people. And you might be a savory person, right? We all have our different foods. But to be able to have a food like that in the house, have a couple when you want them, enjoy them, and forget that they are there when you don't want them, right? That's like the dream. I had a client say to me last week, she said, my pie in the sky dream goal is to be able to have a bag of Tate's chocolate chip cookies. This is very specific because you know what your food is and you're thinking about it as you're listening right now. And I'm so glad that you are. She's like, I want to be able to have a bag of Tate's chocolate chip cookies in the house, have one when I want it, and put a chip clip on it and put it in my cabinet, right? That whole specific experience. I want to know that there's a bag of Tate's cookies with a chip clip in my cabinet. And not be thinking about it all the time, but be able to do that and be able to have that bag with the chip clip on it stay in her cabinet for a week, right? And let me tell you, she is well on her way to that because she sent me a text. She was away this weekend visiting her daughter for Mother's Day, and they went out to dinner to a place that has her top favorite all-time dessert that feels very kind of challenging for her to be around, that she loves. And she was able to have some at the restaurant, choose to take it home, and be able to have a small slice the next day, enjoy it, and make the choice then to be like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm done. I'm good. And then choose to throw the rest away. When previously it would be, I can't bring this home. This cannot be in the house. That was option one. Or option two was it would come home and the whole thing would get eaten, right? So she was able to make the thoughtful, intentional choice to bring it home because it's that good. She wanted another opportunity to have this. She did it in an amount that worked. And then she got rid of it when she's like, I'm actually done. I don't need any more of this. I've had my fill. And that, friends, is that's how weight loss comes into play. Because what these Skills and Trigger Food Toolkit teach you impacts your overall food intake. It helps you regulate your overall food intake. So if you stop, housing a sleeve of Thin Mints every week, that's less calories you're eating, right? That's how it works. It's going to be slow and it's going to take time, but that's how this works. But the cool fucking best part of it is you get to keep the Thin Mints in your life. You get to have that middle ground between eating none of the cookies and eating all of the cookies, right? And this is not an everything in moderation thing. You will not hear me use the word moderation once in this entire course, because that's not what this is about. Because just saying, oh, just have it in moderation, it's not that fucking easy. If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it. Like, let's be honest. If it was that easy to eat in moderation, like, nobody would need a GLP-1, nobody would need coaching, nobody would need help, nobody would struggle with food or their weight. Like, it's a fucking, they hate that shit. This is not that. And also, that idea of like, we are either in a place where we're eating none of the cookies or we're eating all the cookies. It feels like there's no middle ground. And honestly, like, that's where we want them to be. I don't want to fucking live in a world where I am either eating half of a cake or no cake. Both feel terrible. Both are terrible options to me. Both. I want to be able to have a piece of cake, eat it, love it, and move on. And I think you guys do too. So that's what this is about. And I just mentioned one of my one-on-one clients. What's so cool about this course is these are the same skills that I teach in one-on-one coaching, right? So this is not like some, like, I don't know, other set of skills. This is what I do like for a living. This is how I support women. This is how I coach women. And I've pulled out this subset of skills. And also what's cool is the skills you are learning actually apply to many other areas of eating. They're not just isolated to trigger foods. They are kind of the foundation for a lot of things we work around in foods, but the way that you are going to work through it is all building towards handling your trigger foods. And what this does then, right, is it kind of opens your eyes up to see, oh, yes, you're going to be like, holy shit, I've never fucking thought of it this way before. Now I know why everything I've done up until this point hasn't worked. Like, literally, you're going to see the light. Like, no question. I guarantee you that. If you don't, you can send me a DM and tell me, like, and let me know, and I'll give you your money back. I mean, that's how confident I am that I know this is going to change the way that you think about and see these foods. So what you're going to walk away is 3 key things. A practical self-check-in method so that you can build meals that are actually full of nutrition, filling, and satisfying, that you will actually enjoy, so that you are not standing in front of the pantry an hour later playing let's make a deal with yourself to be able to have some Oreos that you bought later in the day. And by some, I mean trying to willpower your way through for not eating half of the package. The second thing you're going to walk away with is a 5-second decision-making tool, something that can help you make a decision in 5 seconds so you can clearly identify why you want to eat and choose the right food for the job instead of blowing through a bag of chips when you're hungry and then blaming your lack of self-control, right? That's kind of what I was talking about earlier with the pool analogy. And the third thing you're going to walk out with is a repeatable step-by-step system that replaces all of the rules that you've tried to use, including like, okay, I'm just going to say fuck it today and I'll be good tomorrow, so that you do not have to rely on willpower when the foods that always derail you are in your face. Whether they're in your face because you want them to be, because you bought them, or because they just happened to end up there because someone brought them home, or you're having a shitty day and you kind of quote unquote lost your willpower at the grocery store, or it's Mother's Day brunch, or it's a holiday, or whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter why those foods end up in front of you, but they do every single time. And so that is what you are going to walk away with. And here's how you're going to do it, right? 3 audio lessons. Each one's under 15 minutes. One of them is actually only 9 minutes. And then after each audio lesson, you are going to do a quiz. You guys, the quizzes are kind of like my favorite part. They are so good because they're not just asking you to regurgitate information, right? They are little mini case studies, and they're multiple choice, and there's 6 or 7 questions in each one. So this is like, you're going to breeze through this in 5 minutes. But it is going to be a very impactful 5 minutes because it's going to make you think. It's going to make you take what you just listened, and it's going to ask you to figure out how to apply it in a variety of real life situations. And it's going to ask you to think about the skills in different ways, right? It's not going to be like the same kind of case study repeated over and over. It's going to come at it from different angles so that when you do this quiz, by the time you are done with these 6 or 7 questions, you're going to be like, holy shit, I get this. I get it. And then what's so cool about that is then that's when you sit down and you build out your template. For each lesson has a template that goes with it so that you are walking through your life, your preferences. What do you eat? What are your kind of trigger situations? What's going on in your life? And you are working through that and walking away with a worksheet that you can then refer back to, right? You're essentially building your toolkit. And you're doing that in the course. So you are not just listening, you are not just learning, you are doing. So that when you are done with the 3 lessons, you have your toolkit, right? You have your 3 key skills that you know exactly how to use in this repeatable step-by-step system so that you can eat these foods in a way that feels calm and grounded and you feel in control and you no longer feel like your options are to like eat it all now to get rid of it or willpower your way through, refuse to have it in the house, and kind of all the kind of swinging between extremes that you're used to doing, right? Because it has always felt like that's the only solution. And it's not, because so much of what's out there around food and dieting and losing weight and food noise and food obsession and all of the stuff is coming at it from the wrong place. It's coming at it from only thinking about the food itself, and none of it is looking at your behavior. And guess what? Eating is a behavior and it's an experience, and we have to be taking that into account. So that's it. It's out in the world. There are 2 options. There's the DIY course, the 3-lesson DIY course, which are 3 audio lessons, which you can do at your own pace. You have access to it forever. And then there's a VIP upgrade, which is the course plus a one-on-one coaching session. And I will tell you that it's such a good deal. It's basically $100 extra for the one-on-one coaching session. Typically, I charge $250 for a one-on-one coaching session. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. I made it as such because I really want you to have the support you need. And the VIP, that one-on-one coaching session is really meant to help you troubleshoot and game plan and talk about the details of your life and what's going on. So you get like my eyes and my expertise directly on what's happening with you. So there's no like, well, what about this? And what do I do? What do I do? And I'm not sure. There's none of that. You have like 100% clarity because we are going to meet and talk about it face to face. Link is in the show notes. Share this with whomever you think it could be helpful. If you've got questions, you know where to find me. You can send me an email. You can send me a DM on Instagram. And thank you for listening. And I hope that you took something away just from listening to this. Even if you're like, you know what? I'm not going to invest in this right now because I feel like I've done everything. I've tried everything and nothing has ever worked. And I buy courses and they just sit there, and I get all that. And I've done that too. But this is something that I know that you've never done before. And I'm hoping that you will take a leap of faith in yourself. Because I know how good I am at what I do, and I know the results I've gotten. I've coached over 100 women using the same skills and strategies that I'm teaching you in this course. And so I know 100% that it works. And all those women came to me having tried all the things that you've tried before that, like I talked about in this episode. And this was the thing that finally changed things for them. And I have there's some, really kind of cool stuff in place to help you have that support going through. So it's like, oh, I bought this course. It just sits in my email. There's some stuff in there, right? There's some accountability where you can actually DM me on Instagram and I'll give you some accountability, like one-on-one accountability. That's in just like the regular audio course level. And there are some emails that are built in that are going to follow up with you and check in. So you kind of like get those reminders. So this isn't a thing where you just buy it and it just sits there forever. Okay. That's everything I wanted to say. Now I'm really done. Thank you guys for listening. Of course, I'll be back next week, which is, oh my God, it's going to be Memorial Day. It's crazy. And just thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you, and more soon.